to the road to growth, success of an entrepreneur.
We've raised the bar.
Learn firsthand from successful business owners and create your own path to success.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
It's time to hit the road to growth with team lead of the Enriquez Group, Realtor Vinny.
You Road to Growth listeners. Today I have a first. We got Ben Fairbrother. He was one of my original guests that I had on here. Last time we talked about a family business that he kind of helped expand on and grow in the mead business. If you don't know what mead is, it took me a long time. I think Ben was probably one of the first people that I actually learned what mead was. It's a alcoholic beverage, something more popular, but back in the day, honey, made out of honey, right, for the most part?
Exactly. Yep. The oldest fermented alcohol, fermented from honey. Yep.
And over the last couple of years, transitioned into the coaching business. So the second time coming on here with a whole new business, it seems like it's a pretty even go, right? When you're talking about mead alcohol to health coaching. Sounds like hand in hand.
Right. Hand in hand. I can't tell you how many times people have told me, when I tell them what I do, since I still do alcohol sales and I'm a health coach, and like, wow, you're really playing both sides, huh? So
yeah. What you talked about it, how this was kind of more of a passion project before of kind of talking about mental health, growth. You said what, like 7 years? You said 6 years?
Yeah, 7 years. So pretty much right when I graduated college, I started a blog. And, for years previous to that, I'd been going through my own journey and figuring things out for my own emotional health. And I started using some of the insights that I had gained from my own experiences and building them into blog posts and sharing those ideas with people back in 2014.
What was the intention of it? What was the reasoning behind putting yourself out there in the blogs?
My primary intention is just to provide people with a way that they can maybe relate to what I'm going through. The things that I'm going through aren't so strange that no one else would have gone through them, right? But my perspective on them has an opportunity to help people. And so by sharing my view and really the way I learned to grow through adversity, people were resonating with that and really responding to it. And so I was purely just doing it to share my knowledge and my experience with other people in case they could benefit from it.
Well, we're going to dive a little more into that, kind of the benefit of it and take it over there. And a question that I've really started using for coaches, because I've had a lot of variety of different coaches, consultants, and that kind of ballpark. What separates you from other coaches?
So in the health coach space, it's primarily weight loss, right? Mm-hmm. Most people are getting a health coach to lose weight. And so it's heavily focused on the physical side of things, which I do work on. I'm a certified personal trainer and I've been active my entire life in different capacities. I'm also a certified sports nutritionist, but what really sets me apart is the mental aspect. And so I'm giving people a toolkit, if you will, to start to understand their emotions better so they can accept them and honor them, to build more self-love, and to put that all together and learn how they can really grow through the toughest times that they experience and turn them into a net positive for them at the end of the day. So that's my 80% of what I'm doing is focused around that mental piece. And most people just do the physical and leave it at that.
What was, and I would say what was and what is the transition of going full-time in this business or even opening the doors of this business?
So what happened, essentially, the business itself is called Project Self. And underneath that, I have Wholesome You Academy, which is my health coaching program that I've made. And the start to it, obviously, beginning back to when I had my blog and was writing, but really it all picked up towards the end of 2019. And I actually made sole proprietorship out of Project Self and started selling sort of fitness clothing. And my plan was to sell that clothing at in-person events like music festivals throughout 2020. we all know what happened in 2020. We weren't doing much in-person stuff. So during that time being at home, I basically had an initial decision whether I would, stop going to the gym throughout quarantine, obviously, and stop working out, or figure out a way to do it at home. And so I took it upon myself to use the experience of, staying at home and quarantining for COVID-19 to start bettering myself and really taking my fitness knowledge to the next level, start experiencing more with my nutrition aspects. And this led to me to getting my certifications in 2020 as a birthday present to myself. And following that through, the beginning of this year, back in February, I started officially looking for clients and changing my presence on social media and marketing myself. So that was kind of the trajectory it took in the recent times. Yeah.
Weird. And I mean, where do you see yourself making the full plunge of leaving the family business and going full time into your own company?
That's a great question. I'm very fortunate that I do have such a hand as I do in my family business. And I love working with my father and doing everything that we're doing there. So it's a tough situation where I really do want to jump in and do this full time. And I see, over the next year that being a possibility for me. But at the same time, I'm having a very big impact in my father's business, and part of me still wants to maintain some of that as well. So I don't know if I'll ever fully sever ties, from doing both. But certainly it's taking up a lot of my time. So what I'm doing and what I have been doing over this year is building some systems that I can put in place to help streamline different aspects of the business. So I can focus more on coaching people, but also still have time to do my, other job as well.
So how do you line up your time right now with the company compared to your family's business? I mean, how do you line up your time so far?
In terms of how I schedule it out, or?
Yeah, percentage. I mean, is it 70%, 50-50 right now? Do you see yourself going to 70-30 or keeping it pretty consistent at 50-50? I mean, I think a lot of people, it's hard for us to do two things at once, right? And yes, you can be very mindful of those things, yet you sometimes lean one direction more than the other direction because, okay, I got to hit these numbers. I got to do these things right here for this company. So what's your percentage of time allowed for each company right now? And then where do you see it envisioned in that ideal scenario?
So that's a great question. And I think it varies for me week to week and month to month sometimes. Let's say we're getting at towards the end of the month, I need to get in sales in for the other business. Then I might spend a little time more there. Generally, I'd say it's somewhere around 50-50, but sometimes skewing on average, maybe 60 or 70%, one way or the other, just depending on the week, right? If I have a lot of coaching calls that week and that's where I need to be spending more time, then I'll be probably more like 60% on my stuff. Now, that being said, I have started waking up a little bit earlier and kind of working later on into the evening on things that are non-time sensitive in terms if it's, doing some analysis around some sales data or doing outreach and things like that versus having an actual call or a meeting.
Do you feel that 50-50 or the 60-40, 70-30 back and forth is the ideal ratio for you, or do you feel there's going to be a more ideal ratio in the future?
In the future, I would say, once I'm ready to go full time, I would probably lean over to doing 70% or 80% on my business and do more managerial and kind of 20% in the meat side of things. That would be more ideal because as you sort of opened it up, this really is my passion. And so it's where I feel most drawn to and where I feel I can make the most impact in my life. And so that's something I definitely don't want to take for granted. And that's why I feel like, committing more time to it like that should be doing it justice in the meantime, right? Obviously there'll come a point where I might just have to go full on into it. And, I'm ready for that at some point down the road. But as you can imagine, I also feel some strong loyalty to the family business as well.
I mean, this is, and it's a difficult question because, I mean, a question that I've asked people, and you're in the heart of things right now, right? You haven't been with the company or built the company and full time in the company right now, right? But a question I ask people is, and mostly with corporate world, right? Is there anything your boss could have done to make you stay with that company and not basically chase your dream? Is there anything, I guess, in your mind now that your family or the company's business, right, could do to push you away from your dream?
That's a great question. And for me, the answer is no. Because, the reasons I'm pursuing this dream of mine and this passion of mine go beyond, money or time or energy necessarily, but to something deeper. I really, when I've helped people and when I do help people, I get this feeling that is really worth more than anything else could be. And, just this feeling of making a positive impact on that person's life and the changes that they're able to see from that is priceless to me. And so that's sort of what I'm chasing, if you will, is that kind of feeling. And as much as people do enjoy drinking alcohol, and I'm sure we give them some good times from that, it just doesn't do the same thing. It doesn't create the same passion and excitement.
Where do you feel the biggest hurdle, the biggest hiccup in building this brand has been so far?
Certainly myself, obviously writing for 7 years and finally building up the courage to sort of take that step and put myself out there in the world. Calling myself a coach, getting my certifications. It's easy to think about, but then these sort of like self-doubt or imposter syndrome scenarios kick in. So that would be one of the bigger things that I've had to work around and work through. The other would be mastering marketing. Everything is marketing these days. I don't need to tell you that. And specifically social media marketing, figuring that out, that entire piece is an ongoing project. They continue to change the algorithms and how things are being shown up in the different feeds. So those have been like my main areas of focus. Adjacent to that, and probably somewhere near marketing, is just learning how to sell in a different way, right? Selling alcohol is different than selling a coaching service. They're both sales, and so I can use my sales experience to that effect. But reaching out to someone online that you haven't spoken to and talking about such topics as, self-love, emotional health, or even weight loss was sort of daunting to me in the beginning. It's like, how am I just going to reach out to this person and start asking them these deep questions about their life? But what I found is that people are very open to sharing with me because of the way that I approach it. And, it's very non-confrontational, very easy conversation, and people tend to really engage with me.
I mean, it sounds like both those things of overcoming is coming from like self-doubt. I mean, the first self-doubt of the imposter syndrome, but also sales. I mean, sales, you have to have confidence in what you're providing, the value that you're giving to people. So there's can be doubt in there. I mean, so how do you push through and come with confidence and push the self-doubt away and keep pushing forward?
Basically, the biggest thing for me has been a perspective shift. And that perspective shift is around, thinking there's a lot of misconception out there that sales is bad, or, I don't want to be too salesy. And I think most people, when they get into their own business, have some variation of that idea. And so making that shift from believing that, people don't want to be sold to, but that selling is actually service, and the people that need my services, I'd be doing a disservice if I wasn't selling to them, right? So making that perspective shift around sales really helped me a lot. And in terms of the self-doubt piece in general, just learning that, self-doubt is something that everyone deals with, and it's not something to get caught up on. So when I feel myself getting caught up in that self-doubt, using that as a cue to take some steps back, really look at it and see, where is this coming from? Why am I stewing on this right now? And what can I do instead? What action can I take right now that is going to move in the forward direction instead of staying stagnant with this self-doubt?
What kind of actions do you do to not stay stagnant?
So, usually self-doubt sounds something like, right, like, why am I doing this? Is anyone even going to care? Like, all this has been said before, stuff like that. And so one thing that is really easy to do is to ask, like, is that really true? And can I know that that is true without any doubt, right? There's this book, it's called The Work by Byron Katie. And she actually outlines this process for any sort of limiting belief that you could have, or any, nagging thought or anxiety that comes up for you, is running through this dialogue with that thought and saying, like, is this really true? What happens when I believe this thought, and taking it down this line, and then eventually turning it around. And doing that sort of analysis around it is one sort of action that you can take. And I find that at the end of that, if that's what I've done, it gives me a clear action that I can do, which would be, what would I do if I didn't believe in this thought? I'd show up more fully. I'd share more content. I'd reach out to more people, work and offer more to my clients. So those are all examples of different things that I might do.
Where do you see, let's say we're talking 5 years from now, where do you see yourself, the business being at that time?
5 years from now, well, very exciting, right? To be thinking that far in advance. I see myself at that time holding some hopefully in-person events and retreats as well, expanding my impact, barring any future viruses or pandemics. But I'd really like to expand my impact in that way and do more in-person stuff, more intensive stuff with different people, and continuing to expand my platform and reach. One thing I'd like to really do, and the reason why I really want to focus more on this business, is to travel and speak more with different groups of people. So I think enabling me to expand my reach, both virtually but also in person, is what I see for myself.
This is probably my last question, but it's probably a difficult question. I think this is for a lot of people that are in family businesses, second generation in the business. How did you tell your father that you wanted to leave the business, or not leave full time, but at least leave majority of the time to start your own brand? Because that had to be kind of a negative experience or a tough experience for you to bring that up, I would think.
Yes, definitely. That's a great question to bring up. It did have a lot of weight and sort of contributed to some of the hesitancy around this. The way things panned out in this instance, I actually left the meadery around the end of 2019, right when I mentioned sort of getting into all these changes. Yeah. And it was for a different reason altogether. But there was some drama within the family, things like that. I'm sure you've heard it all before. That led me to take some steps away and take another sales job, which actually brought me up here to Los Angeles. And then, so I was working in an office doing that for a few months, and then COVID hit. I survived, 6 layoffs or something like that. From when I started, I was the 27th salesman, ended up being one of 2 at the end. And I saw the writing on the wall. So September of 2020, I actually went back to Moonlight Meadery. My dad was really, eager to have me back. He wanted me back on the team and working in sales, and especially pioneering what we're doing out here in California. So when we were having those discussions, I made sure to be clear about my intention around building my own business and following my passion, because I didn't want that to get in my way. And he was very acceptable to that. He understood because he actually started this business while he was working in a software company. So, he felt that, and he understands. I think he loves me more than anything. So I don't think his interest is in getting in the way of my dreams, which I'm very grateful for. He doesn't really see it as a threat to his business.
Is there any advice that you might give to someone that's working with their family, but looking to go on their own? I mean, words of wisdom that maybe you learn from it through this process of kind of doing that. Any kind of words of wisdom you could provide?
Definitely. At least from my own experience, I would say the idea of leaving the family business to start my own thing was more daunting than how it actually turned out to be. And so I think a lot of times when you're in that situation, you're putting more weight and pressure on yourself using that line of thinking, that it's going to be unacceptable to your family to leave and things like that. Now, everyone has their own family, so I can't speak to how everyone else operates and the different sort of dynamics within their families. But I can say that if you come up and you're honest and you share this intention of following your path, following your dream, I'm sure like 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be supportive of that. And they're going to want to help you see your dream into fruition. So I wouldn't, pay attention too much to those thoughts. They're valid, but at the same time, there comes a point where you're using them to hold yourself back, and you have to recognize that and instead follow your dream, talk to your family, have that honest discussion about where you want to go, because otherwise you'll stay, doing the same thing and wondering what if.
Well, thank you, Ben, for being here a second time. I mean, I know we talked about in 5 years what you're going to be doing. Maybe in 5 years we'll be talking to you again on the Road to Growth podcast. So I appreciate you being here. If someone's listening right now and they feel like they relate to you, they feel like they can get value out of your coaching, what's the best way of them reaching out to you or reaching out to your coaching platform to get more information?
Best way is on Instagram. My handle is @Benjamin Fairbrother. Alternatively, emails works fine too. If you don't have social media, I totally understand. And my email is ben@projectself.io. And you can also find me at wholesomeyouacademy.com if you just want to set up a call with me through my Calendly link there.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Ben, for being here. Hopefully everyone listening got some great nuggets. Ben's Instagram information is below. Please subscribe. Please share. And if you're looking to grow, looking to expand in a healthy way this new year, please reach out to Ben. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Vinny.